Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. How's Eddie Frederick?
So glad you can join us. IMF directors recommend path for the Caribbean. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Thursday, 19th October 2023, brought to you in association with our friends at Antillian Group. Details when we return.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. In a recent press briefing of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, on the economic outlook for the Western Hemisphere, the replenishment of fiscal buffers and the pursuit of structural reforms that lead to medium-term growth are important for Caribbean countries, according to Rodrigo Valdez, the director of the Western Hemisphere Department of the IMF. Glenn Bart of SKN Newsline reports.
The director gave his response to a question on the region in the context of slow global economic growth, inflationary pressures, and challenges specific to small island developing states like those in the Caribbean.
A policy line for Latin America in general that is common for almost all countries. Usually we have for a few, some for a few others. But in this time around, the Caribbean, South America, Central America, all have basically two main challenges for the short-run macro. One that is critical is to work in the fiscal. We used our buffers. We have to replenish those buffers. In an environment that could be more challenging with higher interest rates, with growth that is not that high. And the second part is to work in structural reforms that can lift medium-term growth. Again, that is super important for the long run, requires a lot of patience, but we won't grow more if we don't really tackle those. Nigel may want to add something on climate and the region, no?
Yeah, I think the other thing that's important for the region to look at is building its resilience to climate change, and that's multifaceted. I think it's part of it's shifting towards renewable energy sources. Part of it is strengthening its infrastructure to be much more resilient to the increased frequency and intensity of storms and hurricanes the region's facing. I just mentioned that we have already in place resilience and sustainability fund programs with both Barbados and Jamaica, where we're pursuing a lot of these reforms. We're providing capacity development to the region on many of these areas, including areas such as green taxation, commercial green financing from the private sector. And so I think there's quite a large investment from the fund in the Caribbean to try and help them make this transition towards a lower carbon and a more resilient economic system. Thanks.
The current government of St. Kitts and Nevis appears to already be on this pathway, inclusive of pursuing renewable energy and building resilient infrastructure. Glenn Bart reporting for SKN Newsline.
Officer in charge of the Northern Bahamas, Assistant Commissioner of Police Bernard K. Bonamy, holds a press conference on confiscated firearms.
Police on Grand Bahama recovering a number of high-powered weapons from an apartment complex situated on Hearn Lane. During a press conference today, police say they are intensifying their collaborative efforts to ensure that these type of weapons make it off the streets.
What you see before me, 9 firearms that was taken in one raid.
Assistant Commissioner of Police B.K. Bonamy Jr. noting that officers acting on intelligence executed a search warrant on that residence and made the startling discovery in a cardboard box in the living room on Friday.
3 assault rifle and 9 pistols. We have a total of 509 rounds of ammunition here before us.
As a result, 3 men from Miami, Florida, ages 44, 56, and 43 were arrested and are expected to be charged. Meantime, Bonamy sending this stern message.
We say again, firearms are illegal, and we will continue to execute warrants on any residence we have information on that we believe illegal firearms are there.
Bonamy attributing many of the country's murders to illegal firearms on the streets as he appealed to the public to continue assisting police in this regard.
If you know that someone, your neighbors, friend, or relatives are in possession of illegal firearm, we want you to call the police. These firearms here, you see, they have one purpose, and that purpose is to kill or cause harm.
Now, this latest effort comes as a result of Operation Locked and Loaded. Bonamy lauding officers from the Central Intelligence Bureau, the Drug Enforcement Unit, Rapid Response Unit, and the Anti-Gang and Firearms Unit for their efforts in curbing incidents of crime. For the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, I'm Raven Davis.
In the meantime, Dr. Jamil Minis and co-defendants are facing abortion-related charges in the Bahamas. They have been granted bail.
This case is once again bringing the issue of abortion front and center. Just weeks after a mother was charged in connection with her 11-year-old daughter's abortion, a trio in a separate matter was before the very same court charged with similar charges, including a 43-year-old doctor who's believed to have performed the procedure. The victim this time, a 15-year-old girl. The doctor, Jamil Minis, a gynecologist and the eldest child of former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minis, was charged along with the 48-year-old mother and 25-year-old female relative of the teen girl. We won't reveal their names to protect the child's identity. Police charged that sometime between September 3rd and 4th on Harbor Island, Eleuthera, the two women committed conspiracy to commit an abortion. All three were charged with committing the actual crime. In late August, a 45-year-old man was charged in connection with impregnating an 11-year-old girl. His 40-year-old girlfriend, the child's mother, was charged along with him for failing to report the incident and helping to abort the fetus. In court Monday, Dr. Minis was represented by King's counsel Damian Gomez, while Heather Hunt appeared for the two women. In a rather brief appearance before Magistrate Shaka Seville, the trio were told that they could not be granted bail. However, they were granted an emergency bail hearing and were then transported to the Supreme Court. It took some time, in fact several hours after arriving at the Supreme Court, before that emergency bail hearing was complete. The three defendants stood before Justice Gilomena Archer Mins. They were each granted bail in the amount of $15,000 with one or two suretors. Dr. Minis was ordered to report to the Cable Beach Police Station once a week, while the two women have weekly reporting obligations at the Harbor Island Police Station. After satisfying their bail requirements, the three defendants were released and are due back in court on December 1st. For the Bahamas Tonight, I'm Corvell Pfeiffer.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The United States Navy has released a statement on NBC Miami regarding Petty Officer Leota Bradshaw's arrest and subsequent murder charge in Jamaica. Here is Corville Pyfrom of ZNS News with more.
The United States Navy has released a statement to NBC Miami regarding Petty Officer Leota Bradshaw's arrest and subsequent murder charge in Jamaica. In the statement shared with CVM News, Director of Public Affairs, Lieutenant Commander Richard Parker, states the U.S. Navy takes all allegations of misconduct seriously and is fully cooperating with appropriate investigative and law enforcement authorities. U.S. Navy sailor culinary specialist seaman Leota Bradshaw, assigned to the Navy Talent Acquisition Group in Miami, was arrested on October 5 in connection with the killings of Member of Parliament Philip Paulwell's 10-month-old daughter Soraya Powell and her mother 27-year-old Tashina Patterson. Bradshaw has been charged with 2 counts of conspiracy to murder, 2 counts of conspiracy to kidnapping and 2 counts of kidnapping and murder, respectively. Lieutenant Commander Parker also adds the Navy is unable to comment any further, as the matter is currently under investigation by local authorities, as well as the Navy Criminal Investigative Service, NCIS.
Trinidad and Tobago has been granted an amended license by the United States for the development of the Dragon gas field, which ends in 2 years, until October 31st, 2025. Energy Minister Stuart Young said it is a significant amendment which ultimately gives the green light for the Dragon project. TGT's Sunil Lala reports.
So that OFAC license now is a full green light for us to be able to do what needs to be done.
Trinidad and Tobago has been granted an amended license from the Office of Foreign Assets Control of the U.S. Department of Treasury for the Dragon gas field project. Energy Minister Stuart Young said after TNT had been granted a 2-year license to operate the field with Venezuela earlier this year, government made an application to amend the terms of the license. He said the grant by the U.S. now allows the license to run until October 31st, 2025.
It also allows the government of Trinidad and Tobago, working along with NGC and Shell, to negotiate complete negotiations and all agreements that need to be done with the government of Venezuela and the PDVSA for the development and the production and the export of that gas from the Dragon gas field into Trinidad and Tobago for us to develop it.
A major hurdle, he said, has also been crossed with the granting of the amended license.
And for us to make payments in fiat currency, as well as US dollars, as well as bolivars, as well as via humanitarian measures, which was what was envisaged initially.
Minister Young said he's confident the 2 years granted up until October 2025 is adequate.
I don't want to put any time frames on it. I am confident that our competence and the way we've managed things and our continued respect for both the United States, Venezuela, the multinationals, and how we hold our own, that we will be able to get this done and we will be able to bring that gas to Trinidad and Tobago in the not too distant future.
Minister Young said he intends to travel to Venezuela soon to have further discussions on the way forward. Sonolala, TTT News.
And still on Jamaica, Opposition People's National Party's Member of Parliament Philip Paulwell breaks silence after the death of daughter and her mother. Javon Keys of TVJ News reports.
Member of Parliament Philip Paulwell says he has been left heartbroken by the murder of his 10-month-old daughter Saraya and her mother 27-year-old Tashina Patterson. In a statement Sunday, Paulwell said that the past few weeks have been extremely difficult for him. He said nothing could prepare him for the events that have unfolded. According to Mr. Paulwell, it's unimaginable that anyone could murder a mother and an innocent baby. He said those behind the crime must be punished to the fullest extent of the law. Mr. Paulwell added that he's praying for Tashina's family that is experiencing the unbearable grief and pain of losing their beloved daughter and granddaughter. The MP said he has been in constant dialogue with the police and cooperated fully with the investigation. The police on Friday charged 4 persons in connection with the killings. They are United States Navy Petty Officer 34-year-old Leota Bradshaw, 30-year-old Roland Lloyd Balfour, and Richard Brown, 31, both Kingston graphic artists, and air conditioning technician 29-year-old Roshane Miller. The police said Miss Patterson and her daughter were killed and their bodies burned and disposed of. They were abducted from their home on Gilmore Drive in St. Andrew on September 9. Prosecutors have alleged that Bradshaw, who has a child with Paulwell and considers him to be her spouse, took out a murder contract of $500,000 on the mother and child. A down payment of $100,000 was allegedly paid to carry out the act.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean.
In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family, yes we to at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.